Shabbat Shalom. In this week's parsha, Parashat Vayakhel, we read about the building of the Mishkan. Verses upon verses describe how B'Tzalel and Oliav worked with the artisans to build the Mishkan. But prior to this, we read about the mitzvah of Shabbat. And the question becomes, what is the connection between the Shabbat and the building of the Mishkan? And the answer, I believe, is very important. And that is, there are certain parshiot which struggle for prominence, whereas other parshiot, other ideas, just seem to benefit tremendously from biblical texts. It is quite astounding that the construction of the Mishkan has so many verses attached to it, and yet such important principles like Shabbat has very few. And I believe that herein lies our answer. The Torah tells us as follows. God says to Moses, build me a sanctuary. I want a place where I can live. What bigger project can there be than to build a house for Hashem? This project should override all other considerations. And this indeed, we see this by the way that the people dedicate and bring all the materials that they have in order to build the sanctuary to Hashem. But before they start the building, Hashem says, remember Shabbat. You cannot build this building on Shabbat. As important as it is to build my house, Shabbat takes precedence. You have to stop when it comes to Shabbat. From here, the rabbis of the Talmud learn, if that is the case, we have now been able to unlock and interpret the following verse in the Ten Commandments. It says in the Ten Commandments, Zachor Yom HaShabbat, Sheishet Yamim Taseh Malacha. For 6 days you shall do work. Of Yom HaShvi Shabbat LaHashem Elokecha. The seventh day will be a day of Shabbat, a day of rest for you. And the question becomes, what exactly is the definition of rest? What does it mean? Do you have to lie in bed the whole day? Do you have to sit in darkness the whole day? What exactly is meant by this term, and you shall rest on the Shabbat? The answer is right here in our parasha. When God tells us, do not build the Mishkan on Shabbat, derived the rabbis in the Talmud, this is the definition of work. Any activity that was used in the construction of the Mishkan, we do not do today. And they are known as the Lamed Tet Malachot, the 39 categories of work. So, for example, they would have drawn up and written up plans. They would have written on the pieces of wood, this is piece A, piece B, and this connects to piece C. So we do not write on Shabbat, even 2 letters next to each other. They would have cut through the fabric. We don't cut on Shabbat. They would have lit fire to boil up the dyes in which to dye the fabric. So we don't light fires on Shabbat. We don't dye fabrics on Shabbat, etc., etc., etc. One of the interesting laws is that we do not carry on Shabbat. Why is that? Well, very simply, again, derived from our parasha. And that is, we carry from the private domain, from their individual tents, to the public domain of the construction side of the Mishkan. And therefore, carrying from a private to a public space on Shabbat became a problem. And hence, one of the 39 malachot. So the malachot are not just about creative acts. It's also about, it links us to the Mishkan itself. And thus, when we pause from these activities, every Friday at the setting of the sun, when we light the Shabbat candles, we are testifying to Hashem that we understand what Shabbat is all about. That as much as we want to construct and build things for you, we are going to now stop and rest in order to celebrate your special day, the day of Shabbat. And thus, prior to the construction of the Mishkan, we read about the laws of the warning of the laws of Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.